Alright, here we go with another video. So essentially, this one's going to be, the last one I might post, that was an actual communications, radio communications. I might do it all in the same video, but I realize that I talk a lot, I go in, so I don't have a lot of time. So, let's try shortening up these videos. This is the Bao Fang right here, and we talked about that via use in airsoft and so forth. This is the SMA to UHF female adapter. What this allows me to do is take this device via PL259, which is UHF male. Get back here so you can sort of see what it looks like. Screw it onto said Bao Fang, and screw that onto said 270 centimeter antenna that is resonant for UHF VHF in the handband. This allows me to turn this radio on and have a very good antenna. This one, in this case, is the SPB Comet. I like Comet's antennas. They're made in Japan. Do you want to transmit on this antenna with the system that I'm about to show you? No. As an airsofter, unless you have a license, yeah. We already went over the whole airsoft. Check out the first video I made if you about ham radio and the FCC and so forth and so on. So this is an adapter. At the end of this adapter, we have UHF female to UHF female, and it's bracketed onto a piece of two strips of sheet metal off of an old furnace that the wifey and I put together. It has two rivets here. It's all screwed and bracketed together up here, and at the bottom it has a snappy clip. The power of the system was, I wanted to see if the theory would be right if I could have 270 centimeter, which is VHF UHF, but also has HF. So we have another one right here. Okay. Now you notice how there's two plugs right here. Each one of these plugs, as you add onto it, this spool of wire is electrically lengthening the length of the antenna. The top adjustment is how far you pull that antenna out to give it its electrical resonance. This is specifically for high frequency radio as opposed to very high and ultra high frequency radios. Is this practical? No, it's not. This antenna is specifically meant to be set up on a tripod. You need a counterpoise, which is a length of wire that drops to the ground and is fed out from it. Some people use tape measures because they can get exact measurements off a tape measure and actually electrically connect that tape measure to make that counterpoise. So running around with this and using HF, very impractical, but again, it was the experiment. This add-on is just a coil of wire, again, to lengthen the portable antenna, and I believe this will give you up to 40 or 80 meters. And again, like I said, these selectors, these pin selectors, are actually what will allow you to change the bands. And this is all coiled wire. To give you an example of this tape measure thing, we all know what this is, I think. If you don't, this is a UHF VHF to SMA antenna, commonly used most commonly used for the Bao Fang radio. Now, what is it? What did you buy? You, sir, or ma'am, bought a tape measure that is electrically resonant to UHF and VHF handbands. This, if it's the right adapter, which it is in this case, remember, always check your fittings. We have SMA female for the Bao Fangs in the Chinese radios, and traditionally Japanese radios are SMA, are the exact opposite. There you go. There's your tape measure antenna. You can fold it, put a piece of Velcro or whatever have you, secure it in your pack. I like the rubber ducks because the problem with this is we're worried about this. This is seated very well in here, but what we're worried about is this antenna only bends one direction, as opposed to a rubber duck which bends all directions. So if you lean up against something wrong with this antenna, it might snap. Very tactical, not tactile wise, I should say. So this is, again, 270 centimeters. You have UHF male on one side, and you know that there's a band of spooled wire in here that makes it electrically resonant at a much higher, much closer to the actual size of this antenna. This is a true VHF antenna, which I'm sure it is because it's made by a very reputable Japanese company. Then I'm guaranteeing it's at least 3 feet long, maybe half a wavelength for VHF, which would give you 144 to 147 megahertz, 148 megahertz roughly. That is the 2 meter band of the radio. That makes these little guys very powerful. Now, as an example of this, I'm going to screw this off. And this antenna, I'll use a local repeater, but I'm just using this example. This is my adapter string. My adapter string specifically is for my VNA. The VNA is a small, cheap, very cool little piece of equipment. It allows me to measure the resonance of my antenna, making sure I don't destroy my precious radios while transmitting. So here's another pack of SMAs. I'm hoping that these guys are the right ones. Crack them out. All right, let's see what we got here. This is a testing stub for the VNA. It's basically for calibration. And yes, I do have a female SMA right here. So, how does this ensemble go together? I'll have to pause and I'll bring that a little bit later. So this ensemble, I take my pigtail. This is 50 ohm coax. This particular 50 ohm coax is called RG8X. Traditionally used, you can use it for HF. What I like about it, it's very compactable. Remember, the thicker the coax that you have, even though for base stations is better, it's not as flexible. It's a lot thicker. This stuff I can shove in a pack. Something RG8U for HF, you cannot do so. So let me get my, let's see here. Here's the SSB. And I just went male to male. Remember, we have our bracket. This is the webbing bracket, and I'll show you that here in a minute. What is ground? Radios need ground, and you are like 80% water. I didn't do good in freaking, what is it, phys ed in high school, but basically you're a lot of water, right? So essentially, when you hold a radio up to your head, where it's close to your head's full of water. It's using your body as ground. Without that, if you are a Faraday cage and you're holding it outside that, it won't work. That's why when you're talking on a radio, you always bring it up to your face because your actual body is ground for that. Not a good thing if you're in a lightning storm. So now I'm going to go ahead and boot this radio. And I'm just going to chime into the local repeater to show you what the idea. This bit right here will go onto a plate carrier. Very easy, or I can attach it to a frame of a rucksack, even better. Here we go. Yep, I'm on air. So after chewing that repeater up, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video right now. Actually, I got one more thing to go over. So this is called an UNN. 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 Basically what it does is it takes, it's a 149 UNN, and what it does is it converts a long wire antenna, which is right in front of you, right here. This one's specifically for HF, because remember, the higher in frequency you go, the smaller antenna. The lower frequency, like the AM single sideband, the actual real long range comms, you require long antennas. This is super backpackable, super portable, can be slung into a tree via a, I want to say bears again, but it's my wifey's slingshot. You could throw them in a rope into a tree, pull it over the other side. You want to basically just get this thing in the air. This box, it converts the length of the wire that's resonance to 50 ohms. So you need two things. Again, like I said, you need two things. You need the length of the wire to be resonant, okay, on multiple bands. In this case, this one does 10, 20, 40, probably 15, 17, 40, but more importantly, does 80 meters. I know this because this bit right here is 170 winds of magnet wire that wifey put together. This electrically lengthens the antenna. Otherwise, you would need another 50, 40 feet of antenna. So this does the same thing what we were talking about with these antennas right here. It's just coiled wire that allows it to be resonant for the given wavelength. This attaches to the system, and this is the end of the wire right here. So we have our, here's the end for the antenna. This the other end of this connects to this guy's spool of wire right here, and then that's the end of our antenna. Then we have this guy, which is basically an isolator, electrical isolator. Some people use ceramic ones. This one's plastic. And then this whole ensemble gets slung into a tree. This gets hoisted all the way up via that rope line. The other side gets slung up through another tree. Pull it up. Make sure your coax is attached. You want about 60, 70 feet up in the air between two trees, and you're in business. All you got to do is plug it in your radio. You're good to go. This is a very, very, very compact system for the amount of bang for buck that you get. Okay, so I'm going to pause it right now. This is pretty robust once it's all the way down, snapped in. But slide your antenna in. Now, I'm going to go back to this design and mess around with it again because this was designed for different measurements for a different carrier. And I can move these up. I'll make another one that slides all the way down so my snap will actually snap there down at the bottom. But that's the whole idea right there. And then basically that's what you got. So radio goes on down here in pockets, vest, side, whatever have you. Run the push to talks or whatever through the vest. And boom, voila, there you go. Redemption carrier, Redemption Tactical. Very affordable. Not on the expensive $300-400 side. I think this one's, you know, $150 to $200, whatever have you. I have yet to test it. I still need to get some fakey plates for airsoft to slide into it before I can really start messing around and jostling around with it. Half an hour, probably about 3 or 4 days ago, and actually it's really comfortable in comparison to some other vests that I've worn for airsoft. So anyways, big antennas. If you don't have your license, don't get yourself into trouble because they transmit very far. Well, they travel. Again, like I said, radio is about antenna and feed line. It has really nothing. So if you're using this, I'm going to go get a derpy, small, little tiny little inkling of an antenna that is like 1/64th the size of a resonance and it barely works, and turn the power all the way down. But I can also program I can actually use this system because I do have a license, and I can just talk to people on the local repeater when I'm not doing other stuff using this bad boy right here. And again, like I said, the snap's right there, it snaps together. That's how it's meant to function. And this has been sitting on another plate carrier for the best off of a little hot second. So there you have it, some more radio goodness. And this will be, I think I'm going to put another part of the video, a little bit of actual 2-meter communications, so you guys understand. It's not just like people just talking back and forth like CB radio or FRS, where there's a lot of lingo that goes into that, and traditionally the conversations have nothing to do with airsoft or anything tactical for its purpose of that nature. So again, like I said, trying to keep you guys out of trouble, but also if you're going to do it, want you to be informed as to what you're doing as well. So alright, with that said, this is Kane. You guys have a wonderful evening. Catch you towards the weekend. Hopefully I get this video up in the next couple days or so, maybe tonight, who knows. Alright, later on.